Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We would like to thank our guest today, Dr. Ahmed Abu Seif, and our speaker, Dr. Yaseen Alhaj, for coming to this session. And the session now is live on different places, and it's also recorded. And the title of this session, it's called Money Talks. And allow me to share the screen here. I'm going to share the flyer with everyone. So that's the flyer for the session. It's about financial empowerment in the Muslim community. And this barcode here for whoever wants to join the session on Zoom, and this one for anyone who would like to participate and do the pre-session survey. For now, I would like to introduce Dr. Ahmed Abu Seif. He is the founder of American Imam Academy in Dallas, Texas. He's been traveling across the country of the US, spreading the word, empowering Muslim communities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him for all his efforts. So, Dr. Ahmed, I will stop sharing the screen and the floor is yours, inshallah.
الله يرضى عنك ويبارك فيك يا رب. جزاكم الله تعالى خيرا أخي دكتور أحمد. والله, it's my pleasure to be with you today. As you see, I'm in the car traveling. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give any benefit from us to anyone in the whole country. Allahumma barik ya Rabbil Alameen. And I really appreciate to have Dr. Yaseen to our team, especially with this session. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're going to get a lot of benefits. First of all, and the first thing we need to think about it, what is the Quran usually talking about? The issue we have in our daily life. Once I'm looking at the Quran, I'm gonna find Subhanallah al-Qadir, Allah Azza wa Jalla talking about the money as one of the source of the power in this dunya, and how can we use it. I do want to go through the ayahs, talking a lot about that, but we can mention when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the people, they used to waste their money. كانوا يبنون من الجبال بيوتا فارهين. ويعني as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, and قوم عاد and قوم ثمود, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked them to have a reasonable ways to spend, not waste, to spend their money, and to be wise when they are dealing with the money as an issue in this life. As we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the Quran as the guidance for us to have a stable situation all the time, not putting ourselves in a tough situations or under pressure with any kind of spending the money. With these ways, we can understand the importance of the Quran as a system of our life, our daily basis, our actions all the time, in my personal expenses, in my family spending, in my even the economy of the countries. All of that came with the system, as the Quran mentioned. I do want to take a long time just for welcoming Dr. Yaseen and Dr. Ahmed Bekhet in our team. And that's what I have today, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am one of the students here listening to Dr. Yaseen, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for what he's going to say. Allah yarda ankum ya Rabbil Alamin. Jazakum Allah khairan, Dr.
Ameen. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Yaseen, the floor is yours. I know, just to give the audience an idea about what we're going to talk about today. Again, it's financial talks, money or financial empowerment tools in the Muslim community, as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, like how important is to think ahead of time, and how important is to plan and to make the budget. And this is something in Islam. It's clearly when the Prophet ﷺ says, اعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا وعمل لآخرتك كأنك تموت غد. That's the actual meaning of planning and budgeting, and these things that we should learn, right? And the Quran said, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. When somebody gets sick, they go to the doctor. When somebody want to succeed in their education, they take extra courses. The same thing, you want to succeed in money, you go ask the specialists or the experts in money and get the knowledge and learn it from them. So thank you, Dr. Yaseen, for being with us today. And inshallah, the floor is yours to talk about some tips about budgeting, financial planning, and how to avoid problems or financial debt, and how also to be wise in your spending, and how to succeed in your finance in this dunya and in the akhirah, inshallah.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Let me confirm. Can you see my screen now? Dr. Ahmed, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, sounds very good. All right, Bismillah wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. My name is Yaseen Alhaj. I am a finance professor at Middle Georgia State University, and I am also a certified financial planner. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you today. Let me start with a very quick disclosure because I think it's important for our audience to know this about me in particular about this arrangement. When Dr. Ahmed Bekhet approached me a few weeks ago regarding this great opportunity, honestly, I told him that at the spot, of course, I welcomed it, but I told him also that I'm not khabir. I'm not an expert in fiqh al-muamalat al-Islamiyya, and I kind of hesitated a little bit, especially when the audience are people like you, mashallah, people of knowledge, people who definitely know more about fiqh al-muamalat al-Islamiyya than I do. But then he comforted me by saying, well, don't worry, everybody knows that to a great extent. They know that they're not coming here to get fatwas. And I really hope, and I would like to emphasize this, that none of what I will say or about to say will be taken as a fatwa. I'm a messenger. I will deliver some knowledge that I have accumulated over the years with you, and I will leave it for you to decide if this is something that is good, that is beneficial, that you could use and apply in your life or not. But regarding fatwas, I think there are more qualified people than myself who can provide those fatwas to you. So again, none of what I am about to present is a fatwa in any way or me. My presentation will be divided into pretty much 4 sections or so. The very first one, I will briefly discuss why financial empowerment in our community, Muslim communities here in Europe, anywhere else, even in the Arab world, is very important. It's crucial. And then I will talk about 3 main components of this financial empowerment, not to limit this to only those 3 components. No, definitely we have way more, but those are the 3 essential basics. Think of this as the ABC of your financial empowerment. If we master those, if we know enough about them, I think we can build a solid base that we could build a very solid structure on the top of it. But again, before doing that, I thought I should motivate this lecture by walking you through some facts, because, and I do this a lot in my classes, because it's important for us to know reality and then link it to the academic knowledge, link it to any other knowledge that we obtain. And I struggle with this honestly with my own kids, because they're young, unexperienced, as you may know. Linking reality with the stuff that we tell them at home requires a lot of examples. So allow me to share some data from the US economy, and then I will also show you a little bit about us, where we stand as of today. So the very first one here is a 2020 report from the United States Federal Reserve Bank, we call it the Fed, that found that 28% of Americans have no retirement saving. 28%. This is more than 1/4 of the population in the United States does not have retirement saving. And this is not enough retirement saving. This is not having retirement savings at all. Second, 143% of millennials use expensive financial services. And by expensive financial services, we mean they either use financial advisors or something of that kind to receive information or to receive access to funds. And And to give an example about accessing funds is payday loans, or pawn shops, if you're aware of those. So knowing that 43% of millennials use such services, this is a very large percentage, and most likely what forced them to access such channels of financing is because they absolutely have no savings. 37% are considered financially fragile in the sense that they don't have access to $2,000 when there are emergencies or when they need that money. In 2021, there was another survey that revealed that 51% of Americans do not have any emergency funds to cover 3 months worth of expenses. In other words, if they leave their jobs, right, and they are unemployed for 3 months, they won't be able to cover their expenses for those 3 months. As we will learn later on, this is a standard in the world of financial planning to have a minimum of 3 months worth of living expenses saved in emergencies like that. Another fact, individuals with strong financial literacy are more likely to engage in proper retirement planning, and that includes diversifying their portfolios and understanding risk. And this is very important because we keep hearing about Ponzi schemes. Of course, we don't have as many of them in the United States anymore, but we keep hearing about them overseas. And I will briefly discuss the Ponzi schemes in my lecture and why they are extremely important to the population to learn about. Another fact is about financial literacy, which is becoming a phenomenon here in the United States. Everybody's talking about it, and more states are pushing for high school kids to at least have one course in financial literacy before they graduate. So the survey says that poor investment decisions are made by those who lack financial literacy, with up to 44% of Americans report no retirement investments. So that's another statistic compared to the one that we saw earlier. 38% of adults report that they have experienced serious financial consequences due to a lack of financial knowledge. Mainly if you do any transaction, and I have encountered this with many of my clients who would struggle understanding a mortgage, understanding the terms of a credit card deal, understanding their student loan deal, etc., etc., etc. But the particular one that this survey is referring to is credit card management, credit card management in particular. So again, we have a lot of challenges at the population level, at the US population level. What about us, Muslims? What are the challenges that we face? What are the unique challenges to us? I did my research, and I found that Muslims are more than twice as likely to the general public in the United States to face the difficulties with financial institutions. Some of those difficulties include denying access to accounts or having their accounts closed, right? Without providing any explanation. And when they seek explanation, most of these explanations are simply because we're Middle Eastern, maybe, so we were profiled, or because you are part of an Islamic entity. I haven't heard of one myself, but I can assure you that some cases of that exist, especially here in the United States after what happened in Palestine specifically last year. And I've heard about these cases, people having their accounts terminated, or payments, transfers to be specific, canceled, that were directed to Palestine or the Middle East, just because of that. So we do have some challenges that we have to admit that they exist. We have to to work around them and see if we can eliminate them in the future. All right, one other quick fact that we need also to share with the audience is a benchmark, if you will, that everyone should use to evaluate their own savings. To be specific, not financial literacy in general. This is one aspect of financial literacy, right? Because many people believe, and sadly I see these people all the time, they believe that they can live off of their Social Security benefits. When they retire at the age of 65, 66, oh, my Social Security is enough. And I sit down with them and I say, let's see how much you will be making when you retire at the age of 66 or 67. And when we sit down and show them the calculations that the Social Security Administration provides online, they get shocked. They was like, really? I thought it's more than that. Don't you think this is enough? And I was like, well, remember that we live in a society where we have a constant inflation. Maybe during the last 2 years it was above average, but the average inflation in the United States is roughly anywhere between 2.5% to 3%, and this is consistent every single year. Wow. So the cost cannot stay stable. I remember when I first came to the United States, and I'm not going to give you an example about gas, but I will give you an example about other things. We use to buy the 1 pound of beef for only $2 to $3. It is today over $10. A specific kind of I think it's top shoulder something, whatever. But again, I'm talking about 15 or so years. The price did grow or go from 3 all the way up to 10, if not more. So this is why it's important to address this stuff. So going back to this retirement, are you on track for retirement? So depending on your age, I want you just to take a second here to look at this. And remember, this is not my numbers. Those are general guidelines on how much you should have by certain ages. They're not written in stone. I understand this. They're very subjective, as you can imagine. But at the end of the day, they should give you some reference on where you should be. If you're 30, you should be saving for retirement around 1/2 of your annual salary. So if you're making 50, you should be saving around, or have in savings, about $25,000. Again, those savings are retirement savings. Same exact thing applies to 35, 40, 50, but different ratios, all the way up to the age of 65, which is around the age many of us will be retiring. You should be having around 7.5 to 13.5 times your salary. To us, the rule of thumb in the world of financial planning, it's about 12. I know it's not the mid value between 7.5 and 13.5, but 12 times your salary will allow you to retire comfortably, right? Again, retire comfortably. And to give you another benchmark or another reference percentage, many people report that they would like to have 80% of their annual salary available for them when they retire. So put this into perspective, if you're making $100,000 by the time you retire, right?
And we're talking about the age of 62 or 63?
You would like to have $80,000. No, 65. So you're retiring. 65. You are retired now. Before retiring, assuming that your income is 100,000, Dr. Ahmed, right? You would like to have 80% of that income, right, after you retire. Why 80% in specific, and what's inside that 80%? Let me explain. All right, 80% because some of the job or work-related expenses will be gone. You won't have to go to work. You don't have to drive. You don't have to dress up. You don't. So 30% of that income will be gone, right? So you don't need it. 20% will be gone, so you won't need it, leaving you with 80%. So the 80% should come mainly from 2 sources, either your retirement funds or the Social Security benefits that you will start collecting soon. right? So combined, your retirement savings plus your Social Security benefits should add up to that 80% of your, right, annual salary that you wish to replace. So this is, again, some numbers that I hope that the audience will keep in mind and not have, I hate to use that word, not be delusional and think, oh, no, I can live off of 20% of my annual income or 30% of my annual income. Remember that you have developed some standards of living over the years that you won't be able to give up easily. Let's be realistic. And I did really sit down with some of my clients who has wrong ideas about retiring and how much money they need when they retire. So let's be realistic. Okay. So again, I'll leave this for you guys to think about, and let's now move on to the why financial empowerment is very important, is crucial to us. First of all, it does strengthen our individual and family stability, as you can imagine. It's very important because many Muslims' family may go through this debt or financial stress, which will lead to more unstable household and not allow them to focus on what's important. So what is important? What's important for us is education. What's important for us is community growth, our community growth. What's important for us is spiritual development. So when you have financial stress or accumulated debt on your shoulders, you won't have free time to do all this. Moving on to the next one, which is aligning wealth management with faith. And I think Dr. Ahmed Abou Seif did mention that very well and gave a couple of ayahs is about it. And it's very important. We need to align our values, our way of living with Islamic faith and values. Avoid riba, support halal investments, teach this to our kids, etc. Next is building resilient communities. As you can imagine, financially empowerment financially empowered individuals contribute more to charitable causes, zakah, sadaqah, and many other causes. They can contribute also to the community programs. Many of our mosques are built and funded by this wealth that we have or accumulated. So without it, we wouldn't be able to exist or to flourish in the United States. So this is very important. Another thing is addressing financial inequalities, and I think I have mentioned how we suffer from this. I hate to use the word discrimination, although it's accurate, but it's important for us to be treated like others, have the same kind of accesses, if you will, to financial ratios like others. So this is what I meant by having that quality or kind of standards. All right, encouraging ethical wealth distribution. Again, this is to make sure that we have the zakah and the sadaqah that we are asked to contribute to on a yearly basis, promoting financial independence and security. There's absolutely no doubt that this is a dream to every one of us. Right now, the theme is how to retire early, how to quit your job and have passive income. And we see it a lot here, even in this society. So I'm almost certain that this is a dream for everyone in our community too. Last one is ensuring Islamic financial literacy for future generations. And one more time, this is a main hot topic in today's economy here in the United States, because according to the data that we see that financial literacy goes down among the generation. So one generation after another, the financial literacy continues to go down. And the reported reasons are many, but I can highlight two of them. Number one is the social media effect. Social media effect is many people think that, hey, I can be wealthy overnight. Many freshmen from college and senior students from college graduating, they tell you, no, I'm not going to accept a job for less than $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. And I was like, where do you live? My first job, I got paid only $55,000. So, and I was a PhD professor. So what I'm trying to say is social media can impact our way of thinking significantly, right? So that's one major important thing about financial literacy and why it keeps deteriorating, if you will, from one generation to another. And the second factor is the complexity of the financial instruments that we have. You cannot imagine how many financial tools that we keep seeing every year. I don't want to say every day or every month, but every year we have a couple of new financial instruments. The complexity of that world keeps getting higher and higher and higher, and therefore many people do not have the time or the knowledge to keep up with all these updates, and therefore they kind of fall behind, and one more time they become financially illiterate. So all this forces us to think seriously about wealth empowerment and having the resources to stay on the top of the game, if you will. All right, so let's now move on to the next slide. And here I start talking about the main topics of this workshop. And the very first one is budgeting. So let's start with the basic definition of budgeting. What is budgeting? Budgeting, folks, is nothing but a very simple process of creating a plan for how to spend your own money, the hard-earned money that you have made at the end of the 2 weeks, 1 month, or even year. How are you going to spend this money? This plan, of course, as you can imagine, includes your sources of income and means and ways to where you spend this money. You have, of course, to balance these two. Otherwise, you will be short at the very end. Of course, if you have a surplus, that's great, good for you. But many people do not have that surplus, and because of that, having a budget is extremely important for reasons that we will discuss next. Again, as Dr. Ahmed Abou Seif mentioned, we need to avoid wasting resources. We need also to understand where this money is going on a monthly basis. So speaking of the Islamic perspective on budgeting, again, I will elaborate on what Dr. Ahmed Abou Seif mentioned, and Dr. Ahmed Bekhet also, the fact that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did encourage us to watch how we spend, not have a lavish life, if you will, and live within our means, right? So this is one thing that we have to keep in mind. Live a very moderate life, and this is what I continue to tell people around me. I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have given you a lot of wealth, but you still have to be moderate. I know we keep reading, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ, but one more time, that doesn't mean I should go spend $200 on a piece of steak. Can't do that. Moderation is very important. It doesn't only influence us, it influences people around us, by the way. So anyway, let's keep moving and now talk about some important practices. And I need to slow down here, especially when I address each one of them, because those are the essential tips for you guys to build a very solid, bulletproof budget, if you will. Number one is to track your income and expenses. It's very important to do that. Back in the days, it used to be a very hard mission. I remember when we did not have the technology that we have today. Was one of those who would go back and write things down on a list of paper. This is how much I spend on rent. This is how much I spend on utilities this month, and many other things. Today's apps and technology and gadgets make this mission very easy, and it could start from your credit card that you have, or ATM debit card that you have with any bank. Many banks these days offer this pie chart where it shows you which category you spend your money on during this cycle. This much went to entertainment or restaurant, let's say. This much went to your utility bills. This went to your cell phone company. This went to whatever. So it kind of gives you a very good idea where you've spent your money. It can even categorize some of those expenses as miscellaneous, and that should draw your attention. Where is this money going? I was one of the people who learned very early after I got my first job that I used to spend a lot of money on unnecessary things, right? And very quickly when I realized that, I was like, no, this is not important. This is not important. So I will tell you later on how I adjusted my way of spending to acknowledge the fact that I don't need some of this stuff, and therefore it helped me a lot with savings. So again, tracking your income and expenses, I have some apps for you, both available on Google Play as well as the App Store, that you could download easily, sync it with your credit card, excuse me, or your ATM debit card, and it will just literally show you everything on a monthly basis. The second rule is follow what we call the 50-30-20 rule. 50-30-20 rule, folks, is where 50% of your income should be, and remember, those are not written in stone. You could go a little bit higher or lower, but it says that 50% should go to your essentials, your needs, to be specific, not wants, again, needs. So that's 50% to our needs: housing payments, utilities, groceries, things that you cannot survive without. 30% should go to your wants, right? So this is kind of leisure activities, things that falls under dining out, going out for a cup of coffee over the weekend, something along these lines, entertainment, watching a movie, any of these kind of activities that you do to treat yourself, if you will. Finally, the 20%, which I personally find very reasonable. Some, by the way, will tell you 20% is too much for savings. 20% is for savings. I think some people, again, they think it's 15% is the safe ratio. You would even see people telling you 10% of your annual income or monthly income is reasonable. I don't think so. I think 20% is a very, again, not aggressive, very conservative approach. I would, even if I have the ability, I would go more than 20%, as long as I am able to do such a thing. But again, 20% savings of your annual income, in my belief, is a must. All right, moving on to the next one: set realistic financial goals. I said this earlier, and I said we have to be realistic on how we think, how we build our dreams and goals, future goals. Some of these dreams or financial goals should be short-term. Some of them should be long-term. And I will discuss several of them during this presentation. Let me give you an example: building or accumulating some emergency funds. I addressed this earlier, and I said we need to have enough funds on us for financial emergencies. And again, as you can see, it's coming under the next bullet when we talk about emergency funds. But again, this is crucial. This is very important. Another one that I am a big fan of is what I'm going through right now. I'm hoping my wife and I will be going to Hajj, inshallah, this year. And as you can imagine, that's a major expense. As far as I'm concerned, and this is something I heard from one of our community members here, he said back in a few years ago, the average was around $8,000 to $9,000. He said today it's never less than 15,000, if not more. So with that in mind, you need to set this as a goal and work toward it. Go have a roadmap toward reaching that goal, and it's very important. Again, those goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, right? And within a certain time boundaries, if you will, right? You can't just say, I would like to save for Hajj. Well, Hajj is coming in next May, right? So
Right.
or around May, you're going to have to leave. What I'm trying to say is that you have to have a deadline, right? And
Right.
not just leave it open. All right, moving forward, again, we talked about this building the emergency funds. So here is the rules, and I hope you keep that in mind because it's very critical. 3 to 6 months, that is the rule of thumb. 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Where is this coming from? Well, 3 months is the average time that an average person will take to find a new job. Yes, some people will find a new job in 1 week. Some people will take them a month, 2, 3, 6 months to find a new job that they like, of course, right? That is suitable for their skills, their talent. We're not talking about you losing your job, let's say, as a professor in college and go work at McDonald's, flipping burgers. That's an easy job that you can find, I understand, but finding that suitable job that will replace your income. So 3 months if you and your spouse are working. 6 months worth of savings if only one of you are working. Why? Because remember, 6 months, you would like to give yourself some cushion simply because you're the only one earning income in the household. But when both you and your spouse are working, one of you loses his job, God forbids it, you have 3 months worth of savings to spend and support. And remember, your spouse during that time is also providing income to the house. So this is where this 3 to 6 months coming from, right? 3 to 6 months, again, depending on how many of you guys, you or your spouse, who is working and who's not. Moving forward, automatic savings, that's an excellent way of saving. And later on, we will learn how thinkers here in the United States, they tell you, spend what you, after you save, not save after you spend, right? So you start savings and then what's left is for you to spend. And that's a great idea to convince yourself that, hey, what's left in this account is what I have to spend, right? And anything else that comes will go to your saving account. Could be a retirement account, could be another saving account of any kind. So this automatic saving is a very crucial way of having the discipline to save and live within your means or what you have left. Make sure to review and adjust those plans regularly. I'm not saying that you should be sitting down and reviewing that budget every day, but at least once every month for a few minutes, look at those categories. Where did you overspend? Where you have room to spend more or should spend less? So this will kind of give you a very good idea of where you need to be the next month or on the long run. Limit your credit card use, and this is also very important. I know many people cannot do this. They just live like that, and I understand this. But try your best to live without those credit cards, or limit your access to those credit cards as much as possible. Some people can control themselves and they know their limits, and they can really have plastic money. That's what we call them, plastic money in their hands, and they can control their spending. Others cannot. So you need to know who you are and what you can and cannot do. Cut unnecessary expenses. That's a no-brainer. You just need to identify those non-essential spendings. One of the things that I used to do back when I was a PhD student, and soon after I graduated, I very quickly started looking at my cart, whether if it's Walmart, Kroger, wherever I go, and I look at it when I'm done. And I ask myself, is this as important? Because back then I used to have my first child, and I, as a father, I would like to give, to buy everything for her. Her name is Iman, Allah yahfadha. So I was like, no, I shouldn't be bakhil. I shouldn't be stingy. I want to buy more. And then I would stand, pause for a second and look at the cart. Is this necessary? Did my wife put this on the list? And no, it's not on the list, and we don't need it. So let me put it back. So one more time, to have this self-awareness is very important, and this is not only limited to your cart, your shopping, grocery shopping cart. This is about everything that we do in life. To be aware of what you do, the actions, the habits that you have adopted over the years. Do I go to Starbucks every morning, or any other coffee shop for that matter, and buy a cup of coffee in the way to work? Well, if you do this, remember you're spending $2.50, $3 minimum, right? As you all know, that's the cheapest cup of coffee these days, right? Multiply this by 250 days a year, right? This is working days on average. That's a budget by itself, right? That you could spend somewhere else. And again, the same exact thing could or can be applied to many other things. All right, the very last one is, or last two, sorry, use budgeting tools and apps. And as I said, I have a whole slide for that that I will share with you in a second. And the last one is to plan for irregular expenses. How many of us had an emergency and we looked at our bank account and we said, oops, I wish I have more. AC unit is damaged, we need to replace it. The other day I heard a friend of mine telling me that he replaced a 3-ton, I think it's 3 or 3.5, for $7,000. $7,000. Before the pandemic, that was around only $4,000. Today, it's $7,000. Fixing a car, doing something, and a fridge broke down, and a washer, dryer, dishwasher, and many other things. Things are becoming more expensive, and we're not paying attention to those irregular emergency expenses that we may have. Kids need to go to college, medical expenses, many other applications. So this is just something to keep in mind. All right, so benefits of the budgeting. I think I have mentioned many of them already, but let me just go over the list without spending too much time on that. Achieving your financial goals. We said, I gave an example about myself going to Hajj, inshallah, this year. Another one, by the way, buying a car for my daughter, who soon will start driving, and she needs a small car so she can go, and because the following year she will start going to college, taking classes. So that's another expense that I have to be prepared for. Preventing debt and avoiding riba. I believe that should be our goal, our priority, not goal, priority, because of what we mentioned earlier about the downside of both debt and riba. Emergency preparedness, and we gave enough examples about this. Be prepared to pay your zakah and not be like, oops, I mean, I don't have. I mean, imagine someone paying their zakah on their credit card. I mean, I wonder how they think about it, and why would they put themselves in a situation like this? So be prepared, improve your financial discipline, have a discipline, have a plan, And disciplining yourself is not necessarily a bad thing. No, absolutely. I think it's actually a good thing. This is why we pray. This is why we fast in Ramadan. This is why Islam taught us many habits and pretty much told us that we have to follow these rules. And this is part of the discipline. So having that financial discipline is not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't make you stingy. Absolutely not. And this is, by the way, a negative perspective that many people may think of each time they think of financial discipline or having a budget. So I have 3 different tools or resources for you to build a budget or control your budget or record your expenses. The very first and most popular one probably is Mint. Mint is very well known. And as far as I'm concerned, they have their own free version and paid version of Mint. As you can imagine, with a paid one, you will have the ability to do more with that app. But it should be relatively easy for you to sync it or link it to your credit cards, or as I said earlier, your debit card, and it will pretty much import all your data and build that budget and show you what you have in mind. So you will build your budget, right? And it will match it against your expenses, and it will tell you, hey, you overspend on this area. I think you spend too much on this. You spend less on that. And of course, it will help you achieving your goals. Another one is the You Need a Budget, YNAB. That's another great resource. And the very last one is Every Dollar. One more time, as far as I'm concerned, all these are free and they're very basic versions, but you will have to pay for more features if you would like to access them, of course. So I go again, just have something in mind. Another way, by the way, we used to do before having those, in case you are not one of those tech savvy people, is just having a spreadsheet on your laptop. Just a spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Put it, see your budget and where this $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 that you spend every month, where it goes. Where exactly it goes. I know what you spend on your house or house mortgage or something major, but what about those small, tiny expenses that I was personally surprised in many occasions that, wow, we spend that much money on let's say dining out, on our gas, or on entertainment, or so again, everyone will have his own or her own unique circumstances. So I hope we just view this and look at it. Dr. Ahmed, I know I'm a little bit behind. It is, I believe, 12:55 my time. So I'm almost halfway through. Are we good on time?
Yeah, I think we have 5 minutes, and then we can see if people have some questions. You have really good points to mention here, Dr. Yaseen. So
okay, again, I'm halfway through, so I still have more to go. But again, we could pause if you would like and see if anyone would like to have a question, and then we could continue. But let me just mention a quick couple of quotes that I was able to collect online about budgeting, because some of these quotes could deliver a very strong message about such topics. A budget does not limit your freedom, and it should not. It gives you freedom. True, in the long run, if you think about it, it should give you freedom. Another one, being in control of your money means being in control of your own life. And that's, again, very true. Be aware of your little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. I am a firm believer in that. I taught this to my kids a long time ago, and I even tell it to my students when we discuss financial issues or any other issues for that matter. It's not your salary that makes you rich. It is actually your spending habits. When I first heard this, I thought it's Warren Buffett who said it, but it's not. But I can assure you that Warren Buffett is a firm believer of that saying. Okay, so again, just few quotes for you to kind of keep in mind. All right, before I start the next one, do we have any questions? Any questions from the audience about budgeting?
We good, Doctor. Jazakallah khair. We
Allah
good.
barik feek. Okay, perfect.
Jazakallah khair.
Should I continue, Dr. Ahmed Bekhet, or
Yes.
what do you want me to do?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So now we're talking about saving, and I will be quick now because remember, in the field of financial planning, there is a lot of overlapping. When I talk about budgeting, you heard me talking about saving, investments, and a little bit about retirement. So all this will be discussed next in more details, but I will again do my best to avoid the overlapping material that we discussed earlier. Again, here, why saving and investment or having saving and investment is very important. Again, emergency preparedness, we talked about this, having financial goals that are achievable also, that's very important. But the new one here is to build or accumulate wealth, right? And yes, being dedicated and consistent investing your resources will allow you to build wealth and earn returns on that wealth and will allow you to keep up with the base of inflation. And that's a major concern in today's economy. I've spoken with clients who believe if they hold their money in under the mattress, in a bank account, whatever, that they are safe. What you don't understand is, and this is coming from the world of economics, if you will, we have purchasing power and we have the value of money or the monetary, if you will, money. Monetary money, if you put it in a bank account, it will stay as is. So if you put $1,000 in a bank account, nothing will happen to it. Again, we're assuming you're not earning any interest on that, right? Nothing will happen to it in 100 years, right? But the question is, what happens to the purchasing power of this money? Just to keep it simple, right? Remember that the purchasing power of any dollar you have depreciates, goes down, declines on an annual basis according to the inflation rate. So if inflation rate is 2%, that means that the purchasing power of money that you've held in your account for 1 year has declined by 2%. I hope that this now gives you a good understanding of why we don't advise to keep your money stored somewhere and not working, not earning more money, right? And again, I'm not giving any suggestions on how to use your money, but all I'm saying is keeping your money under the mattress or in a bank account without putting it to work means that you are losing, you are not storing value or reserving value or making income off of it. So just keep that in mind.
Can we repeat that point again? Allah Yazak al-Khair.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So what we're talking about here is, Dr. Ahmed Abu Seif, is the fact that any money you store in a bank account or you hide under the mattress or put it somewhere where it's not earning any income means over time that it will depreciate in value. Why? Because inflation in the United States and elsewhere, by the way, inflation means that the purchasing power of that money will decline from 1 year to another by the inflation rate. So my example was, if you have $100 in the bank, after 1 year, if the inflation rate is 2%, the purchasing power of this $100 will decline by 2%. And you can put this into perspective by comparing how things used to be a few years ago before the pandemic and how things are today. And I can give you a quick example about myself. Our weekly cart from Walmart or Kroger was around $100, right? On a weekly basis, we would go over the weekend, we would buy our weekly stuff, and it's pretty fixed to a great extent. We spend $100 for that. Today, we need to spend minimum 140, minimum 140, pretty much on the same exact goods and services that we buy from Walmart or Kroger. So that tells you that the value of dollar depreciated. To you, you may think, oh, no, it's actually prices are going up. Well, again, prices are going up because the value of the dollar went down, depreciated. So this is how we think about wealth accumulation. Does that make sense, Dr. Ahmed Abou Seif?
Yes, Doctor. Jazakallah khair. I got it.
Right.
But
So,
not everybody can invest his money, Doctor. Yani, this is the only way for a lot of people.
sure.
They cannot save any money unless under the mattress, as you mentioned, or تحت البلاطة بالمصري.
True, and this is why my recommendation is to save it in gold. Gold is known to be a very good asset or financial asset to store value. Gold is not an investment, and this is a misconception that many people believe in. They believe, oh, I'm putting my money in gold, that's an investment. That's absolutely not an investment. If you look at the performance of gold over the last 40, 50 years, you will see that they have a very moderate return. I believe I looked at it once. I believe it's about 6%, maybe even less, right? And this is again how quick the value of gold appreciated over time. And remember, it's valued in dollar, which loses value. So in other words, if you put your money in gold, your dollar, US dollar in gold, over time, you're not making a whole lot. Your return will be very, very, very small. But again, it's a good store of value asset. All right, let's move on to a couple of saving accounts that we have. And one more time, I'm telling you, or I'm sharing with you what's available. I am not telling you that you should put your money there. High yield saving account, those are a specific kind of saving accounts that will allow you to put money there and earn high interest rate on them. They're not tied. You could access them freely, and again, they relatively pay higher than normal saving accounts. CDs is another tool. Certificate deposits usually lock your money for a number of months. And by the way, they vary. They could go anywhere between 12 months to 18 months, all the way up to 5 years. Negative side on that is the fact that your money is locked with them for that period of time. If you decided to liquidate that CD, you will be losing some of the income you earned on that CD. Many people from the Muslim community, they will tell you if this is the only available option, we'll take it, but then we will donate the interest that we earned. Is that right? Is it wrong? I am not a sheikh, I cannot make fatwa, but I'm just telling you or sharing with you what people have said to me before. We have few options when it comes to Islamic saving accounts as far as I'm concerned. One is coming from Amana Mutual Fund. You could buy Sharia compliant saving funds or shares into those funds and save your money that way, or keep up with the inflation, or invest your money that way. Okay, and by the way, they are called money market mutual funds. Again, money market mutual funds, those are easily liquidated. We're not talking about investing your money into stocks, as we will see in a minute. This is purely saving accounts. Okay, let's move on to the investment accounts, and here it takes a little bit of education, because many people now are talking about this IRA. Put your money in a Roth IRA, or put your money in a traditional IRA. It's becoming something that I hear even from kids in high school. I think they hear it in social media, and they just pick it and then they continue to spread the message or discuss it with other friends. But the idea here is very simple. You have two options at the individual level. You can have what we call the traditional individual retirement account or your own Roth individual retirement account. Both, by the way, you can create yourself. You don't need an employer for that. So any one of us could create them. Just remember that earned money, only earned money can be contributed or used to fund these accounts. In other words, you cannot just take money that you saved, right, from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago and go to the institution and tell them, hey, listen, I want to put this in my IRA account. That's not allowed. You have to have earned income for that from that year in order for you to contribute to those funds. Limit right now as of 2023 is $6,500. If you're above 50, you will have an additional $1,000 to contribute. So let's go back to the basics. What do we mean by traditional versus Roth IRA? Traditional is a contribution before you pay taxes. So money that was never taxed. And therefore, when you put that money into an IRA and at the age of 60, 65, whatever, when you retire, any money you withdraw from that IRA will be taxed, both the principal and the gains. Again, principal and the gains. Why? Because they were never taxed. You never paid taxes on them. So that's the traditional IRA. Roth IRA, to the contrary, it's money that you put into that account after you paid taxes on them. So in other way, it's after-tax dollars that you put into your Roth IRA. Beautiful thing about this is when you withdraw money out of your fund, of course, we have certain rules for that. You have to have that account for at least 5 years. You have to be above the age of 59 and a half and a few other rules. When you pull money out of your Roth IRA, it will be tax-free. 100, both the principal and, again, the principal and the gains. The question right now that I keep getting, then why everybody's promoting Roth IRA? Well, let me just very quickly say this, and I believe this is a very important piece of information for the audience to learn. Everybody knows that our debt in the United States is reaching record highs every year, right? As of today, it's 35 something trillion dollar worth of debt, national debt. Many people believe that it is impossible for the United States government to pay this debt off without increasing taxes. They cannot just continue to borrow or increase that debt forever. So eventually they will have or be forced to increase taxes, which means that you will be paying taxes on your retirement funds like the traditional IRA. So what they're saying is to shield your retirement savings from those potentially high tax brackets in the future, right? Put your money today in a Roth account and everything will be tax-free when you put it out later on. Okay. The halal consideration or Islamic consideration from this is that you could definitely look for funds that are Islamic compliant or Sharia compliant and invest your money. And yes, we have multiple options, by the way. There, I will give you a couple of them in a minute, hopefully. The next one is when you have an employer-sponsored plan, right? An example would be the 401k. As Imams, I don't know if you are on a 401k or something similar of that kind, maybe simple IRA, maybe something else, I don't know. If that is the case, then sadly, you are limited in your options because they will provide you with the list of funds that you can invest your money in, right? It's not going to be like the IRA. The IRA, you open it with an institution and that institution will have a long list of funds for you to invest in. But when the plan is employer sponsored, right, you will have very limited choices. I cannot think of a plan that offer more than 16, 17 choices. And again, when you compare this to the investment companies who could offer you literally, if not 50, maybe 60 different options, right, of funds that you could invest your money in. So this is the difference between the two And again, I'm not making this as a fatwa, but I have advised people in the past to invest their money in SP 500. I have heard some fatwa in the past where it says if the fund has less than 5% or around 5% of money invested in let's say non-Islamic compliant investments, it is okay, because simply because it's almost impossible to find one that is 100% Islamic compliant or Sharia compliant. Is it right? Is it wrong? Again, I am not making this as a fatwa to anyone. A couple other options for you is to invest in Wahid Invest. That is a website that have some Sharia compliant investments. Another one is Sharia Portfolio. Both of them do have wonderful option or selections of funds that are Sharia compliant. Finally, the real estate investment, investing in real estate, buying houses, etc., which is, as you all know, it is a great way of investing your money. The only concern that I have is that many of these investments will be involved with interest rates or mortgages that you would have to take from financial institutions to fund your real estates. Crowdfunding, by the way, in case you are not aware or not familiar with this term, crowdfunding is when a group of people get together, they crowdfund, let's say $1 million to buy a property. Sometimes those are open to the public, sometimes it's within a small group of people. If it's open to the public, it has its own certain rule. You have to be an accredited investor to invest in them. So it has its own rules, but it's an available option specifically for real estate world. Here are a couple of funds that I was able to locate. The Sharia compliant funds, as I said, Amana Mutual Fund is a very important one and a popular one too. The other one is SPU. And let me just show you very quickly something about the SPU. All right, so I pulled it out earlier. This is it. I don't know. I hope you can. Dr. Ahmed Bekhet, can you see my screen still?
I still can see it on the, yes, on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. So this is the Sharia compliant SP 500 or equivalent to it. As you can see, and again, I'm not promoting this at all. I'm just showing you the available options that we have. So as you can see, according to Morningstar, this is a 5-star fund, which is phenomenal. If you look at the performance, it's doing well. As you can see, returns for the past few years where I'm trying to, yep, they're right here. The total returns year to today, this current year is 18.8. Last year it was 27%. The average over the last 3 years was almost 11.1%. Couple of concerns, and this is not to cast any doubt on this fund. It's to educate you, educate the audience. This is not a long history. I am in favor of looking at funds that has long history, right? This fund existed for the last 3 years or so. So this is not very good. That's number one. Number two, when you look under the quote, you see the expense ratio for this fund, which is roughly speaking about 0.5%. This is relatively low. I'm not saying it's high. Sorry, relatively high. I misspoke. This is relatively high. Not super high, but it's relatively high. To put this into perspective and show you another fund, another popular fund that I am a big fan of, this is the SP 500 by Vanguard. This invests heavily on the largest companies into the United States. Again, 5 stars. Expense ratio, pay attention here. It is 0.035. If you compare that to the previous one, right, 0.45, right? That one is almost 0.5%. This one it's less than 0.5%, right? Again, I'm going to show you this. 0.45, this is 0.035. So that's one thing. If you look at the performance, you can see that it has a very long record of performance, right? It existed almost forever, right? If you look at the performance of that fund over the last 15 years, it shows that it has 13.85% average return. So this is what I would like to see, among other things, right? I know you're not an investment expert, but having a little bit of knowledge about your investments and where you should invest is important. Okay. Again, I hope if you go back to the recording, you can see these two funds and look at them at your convenience. All right, just to continue with this, we did discuss the automatic savings and why it's important, diversifying your investments. This is coming from the saying of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Set clear goals. We talked about this. Stay educated, stay educated, stay educated. I cannot stop saying that. You can't be naive in this world, especially when it comes to your hard-earned money. You've worked so hard to accumulate that wealth, and you deserve to know what or where this money is invested and how it's invested, and staying up to date with the finance world is very crucial. All right, nothing is new here, so I'm going to skip this. This is a very quick conclusion about the world of saving and investment. Warren Buffett says, don't save what is left after spending. Instead, you should spend what is left after saving. You must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you, which is very true. It is not about how much money you make. It's actually how much money you keep. So after you spend, try to save something while your salary is small. And I love this one, by the way, because it's impossible to save after you begin to earn more. When you begin to earn more, your obligations will increase if you realize that. Your commitments, the life complexity that you will live through will get harder and harder, and it's going to become very difficult for you to save. So build that habit of saving, even if you have a small income. All right, the next one and the very last one, I'm going to go through this very quickly. I know we have very limited amount of time, is debt repayment and strategies. We did talk about debt, and we understand why it is bad, why Islam told us that it's very important to pay it off. It's very important to commit to pay it, even for our dead parents, relatives. You have to commit to pay their debt, because it's very important that you نعيد الحقوق إلى أهلها. تمام? Everybody should get his own right or assets back. Few important facts about Western society, and this is coming from the United States. Household debt in the United States did increase to or by almost $110 billion in only one quarter, second quarter of 2024. So now it's about $17.8 trillion. Average personal debt did rose to 22,000. So on average, folks, on average, and this is not including your mortgage, on average, people have debt of 22,700. And I can tell you, although I don't know all the facts, but I can tell you that this is coming from two things: credit cards and auto loans. From my knowledge and expertise in this field, I can tell you that most of debts are coming from these two sources, at least at the individual level. Remember that this survey excludes the mortgage debt. Credit card debt is $1.142 trillion. Auto loans and credit card delinquencies are on the rise, and many, many, many other things, as you can imagine, but those are the major ones. So this is some of the effects of rising personal and household debt, and how it could have or negatively impact the society. Again, I don't have the time to go over them because I would like to have a couple minutes at the end of this workshop to answer your questions. But if you pause the video and look at this, I believe this information is very influential. Remember, we're trying to make a connection between what I am presenting and reality. Why financial empowerment for us as Muslims is important? Because we do not want to have this. We don't want to go through what you see in front of you, right? So this is the consequences of having a lot of debt. We did talk about the Islamic perspective on debt, so I'm going to skip this as well. Let's talk about the repayment strategies of that debt. As you can imagine, debt might not be avoidable for many people, especially for us living in Western societies. So if that is the case, how do I get out of this debt? All right, two important strategies, and they're very well known, by the way. The very first one is called the snowball method. It works as following. It says start with small debt, right? Pay it as quickly as possible while of course making minimum payment on other debts. And once you do, celebrate your achievements and move on to the next one. Here is what I do not like about this. Economically, you are paying the small balances, meaning that the large balances are there and they accumulate more interest. And economically, that's not good, right? So if you consider the second method, which is called the avalanche method, this one, no, focuses on the economic perspective of this by telling you that you should tackle credit cards that has higher interest rate first. And once you're done, you go to the second highest rate, third highest interest rate until you are down to the very last one. So if you are one of those who likes to see quick results, this is for you. The snowball is the one for you. But if you are one who are concerned about your resources not wasting money, saving when you pay off that debt, then the avalanche method is the right approach for you. Okay? I have picked a very quick kind of image online from Investopedia that shows the differences between the two, but I hope that you can just pick that idea from what I mentioned about them. All right, Islamic consideration of debt. I think we kind of know this, but let me highlight the very last one because I believe it's very important to have the intention and dua. There is something I learned when I was still, I would like to say in college, maybe shortly after that. By the way, I'm from Jordan, so this, I guess you picked up this from my accent, but let me say it in Arabic and then I will try my best to translate it in English. It says, إذا نويت سد الدين الله بسد عنك. إذا نويت سد الدين الله بسد عنك. Let me translate this and I will tell you what it means because to some the translation may not mean anything. It says if you have the intention to pay off a debt, Allah will do this on your behalf. And people will be like, really? So you think Allah will come and make those payments on your behalf? No, this is not what it means. What it means is that Allah will make necessary changes in your life, in your income, in any circumstances where this debt will be paid off under one condition, that you have the true intention to pay it off. If you don't, I promise you Allah will do the opposite probably, right? So what I'm trying to say is be sincere in your dua that Allah will help you pay off that debt and have the intention, have the niyyah, I guess, to really, this is what I want to do. Okay, so this is, I guess, my message to those who have debt, and they're in trouble. They're in financially troubled situation. All right, practical tips to manage your debt effectively. Most of these are self-explanatory, so I will go over them very quickly because we did mention them. Create your detailed budget, and we dedicated a whole part of this workshop for that. Cut or even avoid unnecessary expenses. Consider increasing your income by picking up a second job or even a third job. There's nothing wrong with that. Prioritize your paying above the minimum. Make sure that you make more than your minimum payment. If your minimum payment for a credit card or debt is only $35, don't say, oh, this is what I have to pay and that's it. No. You have to pay everything. The minimum payment that you have is that $35. So go ahead and make more than that minimum payment. And finally, automate those payments to avoid any late fees, as you can imagine, which are becoming higher and higher every year. Seeking financial assistance. Let me just give you a very quick story about this. This has happened to one of my clients. His wife is a dentist coming from overseas, and as many of you probably know, practicing dentistry here in the United States is very difficult for people coming from overseas, especially if they would like to evaluate their transcripts. They have to go through a lot of process, and at the end of the day, they have to take a few years worth of education, etc., in order for them to be qualified to practice or to become dentists. Bottom line is she got accepted. And every year, by the way, they accept, I think, 2 or 3 students in that program. It's up in Cleveland, Ohio. They don't have the money because the program cost over $120,000. So they don't have the money. Who has $120,000? And I think they have to pay most of it up front. So what we altogether figured out is that they reach out to one of their relatives who happen to be wealthy, and instead of borrowing money from him, I strongly believe it's not fair for me to borrow, let's say, from Sheikh Ahmed Bekhet $10,000 today, and after 5 years pay it back 10,000. We talked about inflation. It's not fair to Ahmed to receive this money after 5 years only 10,000. And again, this is as an economist, as a financial planner, I think this is not a fair deal. So we figured out that the best deal is that he would lend them certain stocks. So let's say he lent them 10 stocks of X, Y, and Z company, right? They, in 5, 6, 7, whatever years, they will have to return those same stocks to the individual, right? I think this is a fair deal, but giving me money and taking it back as is or paying it back as is after 5, 6, 7 years, well, again, we talked about the depreciated purchasing power of this money and how it's not fair to the individual. So this is, again, one way of doing that. Again, not much left here. I will stop. It is 12:30. I apologize if I went over time, but I will give this back to you. And again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present and share some of my knowledge with you.
It's a very
Allah yabarak
informative
feek.
session. And I just want to go back to the last point as like adding to what you said. I heard some people when they're lending or they were recommending if you're lending other people qard hasan or money, and instead of doing it in like giving them 5,000 and take it back in 3 years 5,000, maybe you look at the value of gold at that time.
That's
Let's
very
say
good.
this is like with the stock, I would just like my only concern is the value of the stocks. It goes over and over, it accumulates like profit. But with gold, it's kind of like reserving the value of the money at that time. So it might be that's the only thing that comes to my mind at this point. But it's
Again,
up to them if it works for them.
it could fall under al-aqd shari'at al-mutaqaqidin. If they
Right,
agreed
absolutely.
on that, they could, for example, it could be sha'ir that we agreed to lend each other, right? Qamh,
Right.
any other asset,
Right.
right? Just give it back to me the same way you borrowed it. So
Right.
again, I'm not a sheikh. I'm not going to make
No,
a
no, no.
fatwa.
Yeah, I'm just like sharing what I learned or I heard or
But yeah,
seen from people.
using gold as a reference asset is excellent idea.
It is.
I
It
have
is.
to tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. But wallah, it was really beneficial. Any session, I learned a lot of things. I took a lot of notes over here, and I have the apps that can help with budgeting. Because as you mentioned, like it's about how the self-awareness and the self-discipline,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Especially with a lot of
Yes.
temptations around us. I want to have like I see my friend or this person on social media, they have this nice house or nice car or this
Bigger,
nice they are
bigger
sitting.
TV, nicer
Uh-huh.
car, newer
Right,
car,
right.
newer cell phone. Again, the examples, Sheikh Ahmed, is unlimited. Trust me. We live in a society that is influenced. They live off of social media, which is very
Absolutely.
dangerous, by the way.
It is. It is. It is. Dr. Seif, would love to hear from you as well. Now we had a great honor to have both of you here today.
Allah يجزاكم خير. I do want to open my microphone because of the sound around me.
Absolutely.
والله جزاكم الله خير Dr. Ahmed, Dr. Yaseen, and Dr. Ahmed Bekhet. I really appreciate that. والله I got a lot of benefits today. اللهم لك الحمد والشكر يا رب العالمين. For me, it was like just like a wake up mind, you know. You are you took my mind to another route in my life personally, and I'm sure inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala everybody gonna listen to that, gonna have a lot of benefit from it. Allah يجزيكم خير يا رب العالمين. By the way, I have two points. The first one, the hikmah or the wisdom words you mentioned. The source of it, it's in hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu when he said, "من أخذ أموال الناس يريد أداءها أدى الله عنه، ومن أخذها يريد إتلافها أتلفه الله."
نعم نعم. أنا قرأت هذا الحديث، لكن هذا السينج زي ما حكيت لك يقال في الأردن بكثرة. إذا نويت سد الدين ربنا بسد عنك.
And the wisdom behind that, if you are really worried about the deen, you're gonna do your best to put it down. This is the secret point. This is the key over here. It's like encouraging my intention to have more work, more doing something to get money from here and there, just to put it down as soon as possible. The second point for the al-qard al-hasan, like in general, alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet Muhammad sallam, he covered all the ways of that. First of all, al-qard al-hasan usually coming from the, how can we say, fa'id al-mal. I don't know how can I translate this word. And usually when I give a qard,
excess amount of money, excess amount of money available.
Excess amount of money. Okay. It means when I give you qard hasan, I don't need it. You know, even if it's gonna come in a while, even lessing like little amount of the inflation or whatever, it will not hurt me in the future because I already gave my money from my as you said excessant. I don't know whether the word actually excessant. The amount. Yeah. The second point with this one, because of the risk with the qard hasan, even with inflation or maybe will not return it back, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiply the rewards of that more than the sadaqah, by the way. And if we are getting 10 times of the ajr because of the sadaqah, we have 18 times of the ajr because of the qard hasan. And this came through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu to encourage the people to make it easy for the other people, especially when they have a hard time in their lifestyle. This is like a few points I can, as you know, you have the half of my mind and the other half on the road.
Yeah, Allah يجزاك خير. بالعكس, I learned something from you. I did not know this last hadith, the one you mentioned. I did not know that because I was about to make a comment. In a complex life, do you expect many people to have excess amount of money, or would they be willing to lend it? But now that the reward is there and they are promised this reward by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then the motive should exist as well. Yeah, makes sense.
بالإضافة لذلك لما حدث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بقوله من أخذ أموال الناس يريد أداءها أدى الله عنه، حول نية التعاقد بين العبد وصاحبه إلى نية التعاقد بين العبد ورب العالمين سبحانه وتعالى. فكأن الدين من الله وليس من المقرض البشري، فجعل
I
النية
agree.
متحولة إلى الله، يخشى العبد ربه قبل أن يراعي خواطر الناس أو مشاعرهم.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point.
فيكن أكثر إلزاما للعبد للأداء.
صحيح.
ما شاء الله.
والله أعلم.
ما شاء الله. الله يجزيكم الخير. الله يجزيكم
الله
الخير.
الله يجزيكم الخير يا رب. I really appreciate that. جزاك الله خير. بارك الله فيكم
Absolutely,
يا رب.
absolutely, absolutely.
As you
I
all
don't want
know,
to give you
يعني
more hard
money is
time with this.
yeah, money is essential talk and it never ends, and we're not giving it justice to talk about like this important topic in an hour or less than an hour, but we really appreciate the time and the effort for everyone.
Absolutely.
And inshallah we can do more sessions of this. And I would
Inshallah.
say the great success from this session is we got the courage to come and talk about it.
Yes, yes.
Just like, man, we want to talk about this. We want to educate people. We want to just, even where maybe people will see it in the future, will say like, man, what at this point? I wish if I learned this in early time. The same for me and for Dr. Ahmed. And this is علم ينتفع به. So again, thank you everyone. Inshallah, we will keep doing this in the future, and even we can do it into a
Inshallah.
small session. We'll find a way to educate ourselves and others about this important topic that empowers every single person and empowers the community in general. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.